The gym fell silent the moment the new girl walked in, as silent in the way a storm pauses right before it hits. Nobody knew her name, nobody knew her past, and nobody knew the reason she walked with her head lowered, clutching her backpack as if it carried every memory she didn't want to remember. But everyone noticed the bruises on her knuckles, the faint scratch on her cheek, and the quiet fire in her dark eyes. She was different, and in a place where people feared the different, trouble was waiting. Her name was Sarah, though she barely whispered it when the coach asked. She didn't smile, didn't greet anyone, just bowed respectfully like someone who had been trained to respect long before she had learned to speak. The students glanced at each other. No one bowed that perfectly unless they came from a place where discipline was a second language, but the bullies didn't care. Jake and Mason, the self-proclaimed kings of the martial arts academy, strutted toward her. Everyone in the room watched as they circled her like wolves testing a quiet deer. They were older, bigger, louder boys who believed strength lived only in muscles and not in the heart. "Hey, new girl," Jake smirked, tapping her shoulder. "Show us what you got. Or are you just here to watch others fight?" Sarah didn't respond. She kept her gaze steady, her expression calm, almost too calm. Mason stepped forward and without warning launched a knee straight toward her face. The gasp that filled the room hit before the knee did, or rather, before it didn't, because in that split second, the quiet girl nobody knew moved. Not aggressively, not angrily, just a soft shift of her feet, a turn of her shoulder, and the knee swished past her as if she had predicted it before Mason even lifted his leg. He stumbled forward from the force of his own strike, confusion exploding across his face. Jake blinked. Mason froze, the coach's mouth fell open. Sarah simply stepped back, eyes calm, breathing steady. Jake snarled. "Oh, so you think you're better than us?" He lunged with a punch. Another knee. Another swipe, and every attack missed. The room was so quiet you could hear the thuds of Jake's and Mason's failed strikes echoing across the mats. Sarah didn't hit back. She didn't even raise her hands. She just dodged with a precision no one had ever seen, not from kids, not from adults, not even from the seniors who had competed internationally, and that's when the whispers began. Who is she? She moves like a pro, no, like someone trained by a master. But the truth was far bigger. Coach finally stepped forward, voice trembling. Sarah, where did you learn to move like that? For the first time, Sarah lifted her eyes fully, letting the room see the weight she carried. From my mother, she said quietly. She was a national champion. Before she died. Silence dropped again, this time thick with emotion. Sarah continued, voice shaking slightly. She trained me my whole life. Not to fight. But to defend. To walk away. To avoid hurting anyone unless I had no choice. Jake and Mason suddenly looked smaller, like boys who had spent years pretending to be strong but now stood exposed. Their pride deflated, replaced by something they couldn't hide, shame. Coach's eyes softened. You're her daughter? The legend? The one we all watched on TV years ago? Sarah nodded once, the memory flashing in her eyes like a broken mirror. The room exhaled, everything made sense now, the perfect bow, the silent discipline, the calm that held her entire body together like steel wrapped in softness. But the story didn't end there. Over the next days, the academy transformed. Jake and Mason avoided her at first, but not out of fear, out of guilt. They began helping younger students more, pushing themselves less to show off and more to improve. They approached Sarah on the third day, standing awkwardly by her locker. Jake cleared his throat. Look, we messed up. You didn't deserve that. Mason nodded quickly. Yeah. We were idiots. Can we? I don't know, start over? Sarah looked at them for a long second, then gave the smallest smile. Okay. They didn't become best friends overnight, but something shifted. Respect replaced arrogance. Curiosity replaced jealousy. And Sarah slowly began to trust them, opening up piece by piece, like someone stitching together a heart that had been torn too many times. Weeks passed. Sarah became the academy's quiet star, not because she fought the hardest, but because she fought the smartest. She helped kids who were scared, she guided beginners who kept messing up, she taught Jake and Mason how to balance power with patience, and one day during a major training session, the coach gathered everyone around. We have an announcement, he said proudly. Sarah has been selected for the International Junior Championship. The one her mother once won. The room erupted with cheers, not forced cheers, not polite applause, but genuine joy. Even Jake lifted her up in excitement, and Mason punched the air like a kid who just saw his hero win. Sarah stood there overwhelmed, tears gathering in her eyes. For the first time in a long time, she felt something unfamiliar, belonging, but she lifted her chin and said softly, "I'm not doing this just for me. I'm doing it for every kid who's been underestimated. Every kid who was told they were weak. Every person who was judged before anyone knew their story." Her voice cracked, but she kept going, "And for my mom. I want to make her proud." The coach put a hand on her shoulder. "She already is." And as Sarah stepped onto the tournament mat weeks later, with Jake, Mason, her coach, and the entire academy cheering behind her, the world finally saw who she truly was, not just the new girl, not just the quiet girl, not just the girl who dodged a knee, but the girl who turned pain into power, the girl who rose again, the girl who made everyone believe that strength is allowed. It's steady out. If you felt her journey, if it touched your heart even for a moment, then don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach more people who might need a reminder that they're stronger than they think. Stay connected, stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next one.